I think I have an intro. Just bear with me and tell me if it sucks. Hello, dumpster divers. Welcome and welcome back to another video. Today, I've got a silly little speed paint, and I'm super excited because I have always wanted to do one of these, and so here we are. Today, I am kind of redesigning Minecraft Diaries Aphmau, and you may be thinking, Nate, why did you decide to do this? And to that, I am so very happy you asked, because please allow me to explain. Sometimes, and by that I mean a lot of the time, the good old spirit of childhood nostalgia decides that it's gonna come back and it's gonna haunt the shit out of me. And this time, I was haunted by the nostalgia known as Aphmau, the old school queen of Minecraft roleplays. Honestly, in my opinion, she absolutely changed the game when it came to roleplays, just with the production value of her videos. And still to this day, probably some of her best known series are My Street and Minecraft Diaries, which I still shamefully cosplay from today. It's called Healing Your Inner Child. Leave me alone. But like 2 weeks ago, I was sucked right back into the rabbit hole of Aphmau because of a TikTok that I liked. And because the way the algorithm works, you interact with one specific video, and that kind of content is all you're gonna get on your For You page for the next month and a half. Regardless, I was like, you know what? It might actually be kind of fun to go back and rewatch some of Minecraft Diaries, because truth be told, I don't remember anything that went on in that series. I was a My Street kid, through and through. I remember sitting by my computer and waiting for the next episode of Love Love Paradise to drop. But we're not here for that, and we're not even going to begin to discuss half of the My Street lore, because what do you mean they were siblings the entire time? Anyway, while I was rewatching Minecraft Diaries, I had a very silly and probably unoriginal idea cross my mind, and that was, what if I put these characters in actual time-appropriate clothing? And I only say that because half of these characters were wearing t-shirt and jeans, supposedly living in medieval times, but thus here we are with the first episode of what will hopefully become a series, and I figured who better to start out this potential series with than the self-insert of the century herself, Aphmau. Season 1 Aphmau, to be specific, when she first spawns into the world, happening upon Phoenix Drop, later on becoming the Lord, helping to rebuild it, meanwhile unintentionally getting dragged into a whole bunch of Deep Lore nonsense. But we can save those deeper bits of lore and maybe rewrite them for another time. For now, let's dive into the character design and talk a little bit about why I chose some of the things that I did. Starting out with her outfit as a whole, from what you can hopefully see on screen, I have two different Aphmau reference photos pulled up, and the first one, that's up in the top left corner, is her skin from the very short-lived Minecraft Diaries reboot called Diaries Rebirth, and the one just below it is her skin from the original Minecraft Diaries, which was also just her normal Minecraft avatar at the time. I tried my best to keep both of these skins in mind during the redesign, just kind of picking and choosing different elements from both skins to still keep that Aphmau feel, which I think I was able to achieve pretty well. Unsurprisingly, I had to do quite a bit of research on medieval and Renaissance type clothing, just reading a bunch of different articles about the styles of clothes that were in fashion, the fabrics that were used, as well as what colors they had available, which I'll talk a little bit more about later on. So, finally, starting with her bodice, I ended up just choosing to keep the piece that she wears in Diaries Rebirth, since it already looked a lot like the most common type of bodice that was worn at the time, so there wasn't a whole lot of change to be made there. As for her undershirt though, I simply chose to extend the sleeves, making them long instead of short, just because I felt like the longer sleeves fit this design a little bit better. When it came to the bottom half of her outfit, I opted to change out the shorts that she wears in both series for a long skirt, which I felt gave her more of a proper commoner feel, if that's what we want to call it, since unfortunately shorts and pants weren't typically worn by women back then. Of course though, depending on how far we can get in this series, I won't be sticking to that fact, seeing as how a lot of the women in Minecraft Diaries were knights. Anyway, although you can't quite see the shoes that she wears for the most part, I liked the concept of sticking with that knee-high look that she has throughout both series, but I ultimately stuck with the Diaries Rebirth boots over the Converse that she wears in Minecraft Diaries, since boots were commonly worn back then, and unfortunately Converse were not invented. As for her face, I ended up just using an off-screen reference of what Aphmau looks like in real life, since she's just a self-insert. However, because of the fact that a chunk of her character's storyline is that she is just Lady Irene, or God, reincarnated, I wanted to keep the markings she had in Diaries Rebirth since it held a significant, I guess, meaning in said character's storyline. Overall, before adding all of the colors, which I promise I'm about to talk about, it's a fairly simple design, as most commoner clothes were simple themselves during the Renaissance, so nothing too over the top, at least for now, keeping true to not only the time period, but some of Aphmau's backstory of being a woman who has absolutely zero recollection of who she is at the very start of the series. Finally, moving to the color. The color portion was probably my favorite part out of this entire piece because there is one thing that I love. It's color, contrary to the way that I may dress. While I was researching what colors were often used and worn during the Renaissance, I found a few different things. One being that the more pigmented and saturated the color of your fabric was, the more expensive and valuable it was. And the second thing was that the color purple was a very tricky and even more expensive color to produce. To put this into perspective, to create the purple dye powder that they would use, you needed murex shellfish, and to create 1 singular gram of said dye powder, you needed approximately 10,000 murex shellfish. And just that gram alone cost $3,000. $3,000. That is bananas. So alternatively, what they would do is they would take blue and red dyes and just mix it together as a much cheaper and easier way to obtain purple fabric. But unfortunately, when mixing the dyes, it would have produced a much less vibrant purple as opposed to what would have been achieved with the murex shellfish. However, with that thought in mind, I remembered that the color purple on her shirt in Minecraft Diaries wasn't extremely vibrant to begin with, which gave me a very silly little thought of what I could add to the story of the outfit. So in both series, there's this character that we meet whose name is Vischer. Vischer is a merchant that we meet fairly early on, and he's the one who actually gives her the clothes that are shown in the reference photo for Diaries Rebirth. And just before he gives her the clothes, he says that he'll, quote, give her the best garb he has. So because of the fact that Vischer's a merchant, and also just is quite nice himself, I only imagine that he more than likely has quite a few expensive items up for trade and selling, including clothing, which is where he gets the purple skirt and gives it to Aphmau. And I think that that's just a very silly and cute kind of headcanon, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. As for the rest of her clothes, there really wasn't a whole lot of change to be made color-wise, since black was still somewhat of a common fabric color, but could also be fairly expensive. Same thing goes with her boots, which then, in a funny way, leads us back to the little Vischer headcanon that I came up with. I did, however, try and give her shirt a little bit more of a grayish tone rather than a perfect white, since although, yes, you could obtain a whitish looking color by bleaching your fabric, such as like wool and linen, which were common, pure whites were primarily reserved for extremely rich and wealthy people, since chemicals had to be involved when trying to get that perfect white color. Other than that, I kept her hair, skin, and eyes pretty much the same as they are in both series. I ended up making her hair a little bit more brown than a black just because I didn't want it to blend in with her bodice, but yeah, there's not a whole lot else that I have left to say about it. I probably could have made the skirt a little less vibrant in color, but I think that might be due to the shadings and whatnot that I did over it that accidentally gave it more pigment, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. By no means is this the most dramatic redesign, but it was still really, really fun to do. If this is something that you guys enjoyed watching and would like to see more of in the future, please consider subscribing, and feel free to leave a like and comment down below in what I will call the landfill. With which Minecraft Diaries character you'd like to see me redesign next. Maybe you want to see a different version of Aphmau, or maybe you want to see an entirely different character. Who knows? Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I shall see you in the next video. And now I leave you to the rest of the Speedpaint with some silly background music. Thank you again. Bye! Oh, it's Lex. Never mind. Oh, she's asking me which show got canceled. I'll respond to her in a minute.